the best of the week on Relevant Radio.
This latest study published in the New England Journal of Medicine, phase 3 clinical trial, this drug, the brand name drug Mounjaro versus placebo, head-to-head phase 3 clinical trials in people with obstructive sleep apnea, and found that over basically a year-long study period, the people who were on this drug had a significant improvement. Of course, they lost weight, but their sleep apnea improved dramatically in terms of the frequency of these episodes of not breathing and also the severities.
It's the Drew Mariani Show on Relevant Radio.
Yeah, I heard they lost over 20 pounds or more. A lot of people struggle with sleep apnea. If you're having trouble sleeping, maybe it's your spouse. We're going to get into it all. Let's start here with President Trump, okay? Last month, he said on his social media site, True Social, that he wanted to eliminate daylight saving time. He didn't say which way he would resolve the issue, but he wants to get on one sort of time. I kind of like the idea. There's a bill in Congress right now that Senator Marco Rubio introduced. He, of course, is the senator from Florida, and it's called the Sunshine Protection Act, and it would actually keep daylight saving time year-round. Is that the best one to go on? Or standard time better? Of course, as a Floridian, you'd expect Rubio to do that, but the American Academy of Sleep Medicine and the American Medical Association, they want to make standard time the standard time. They say that it aligns better with your body, right? And with the sun, which of course affects your sleep patterns. So I don't know how it's going to be resolved. I do think it's important though, because I think getting a good night's sleep is so essential. My guest today is Dr. Lou Tartaglia. He's a sleep medicine specialist. He's board certified in psychiatry and neurology at the Toledo Sleep Disorder Center. And I hope you'll check him out. He's got a website. It's tartaglia.com. That's TARTAGLIA.com. All right. You can do a quick search and get connected to him. Doctor, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
I am delighted to talk to you. I am grateful for your time. Let's start with time zones first, or daylight saving versus standard. I presume you're in favor of keeping us on standard time. And what's the science, and how do you feel about what's being proposed?
The science is definitely in favor of going back to just standard time and getting rid of daylight savings. And it's kind of interesting. In Florida, going on to daylight savings isn't going to make as much a difference as it would in, let's say, Michigan or Illinois or North Dakota, where the change in daylight to darkness is much more dramatic, because in Florida it doesn't change that much. So going back to standard time would be the right thing to do. It's more in line with a natural circadian rhythm. It's healthier for individuals. The only advantage the daylight savings would have is that golfers would like it because they can golf later into the evening.
This biannual time change that we currently have, I mean, how does it affect the human body? How does it affect families with young children? I know that has a big play. What about the economic arguments, for and against daylight savings as well? I mean, there's a lot of pros and cons, I guess, to these arguments.
Yeah, it turns out the economic arguments were bogus. There was this whole deal about you were going to save money, save electricity, and it was going to make all these differences. It really doesn't. It doesn't make that much of a difference economically. But in terms of biologically, every fall you're going to see more people getting sick after we switch to daylight savings. You're going to see more traffic accidents, more deaths on the road. So it's really been a disaster for a long time, and it's long overdue. The American Academy of Sleep Medicine has been pushing to get rid of daylight savings time for at least a decade, and they're pretty adamant about it, and I agree with them. Yep. I'm a member too, and most of us agree that it should be gotten rid of.
So what's it look like? What does a permanent time zone? I can't remember a time before daylight saving. What's it look like? Would it affect business, international relations? What's it do for your sleep and your biological
your circadian clock aligned to nature? And that's the important thing. God programmed a clock into every cell of your body, but a special clock in your brain that responds to sky blue light and responds to sunlight. So when you wake up in the morning and you get exposed to sky blue light, the clock in your brain resets to daytime. Yeah. And that's extremely important. That affects everything. It affects all the hormones in your body. It affects your GI tract. It affects everything.
You know, I think it's a friend of mine was telling me about this. I think it was over the holidays. I don't know whether it's a male or a female. I don't know whether it was a daughter or son. But they said that their child, either an adult or in their 20s or 30s, sleeps all day. I mean, literally. Like they wake up around 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the evening, and then they take their Adderall or they do whatever they do, and they go work out. They stay up all night. They go to sleep maybe 4 or 5 in the morning. And that's their cycle. And you know, I think they're in schools is part of the reason. What does that do to that person? And how does that person reset? Can certain people say, hey, I want to sleep during the day and stay awake at night? I know a lot of people are on shift work. They may not like it, but, is there anybody who has a natural proclivity to that type of schedule?
Yeah, there are a couple genetic abnormalities. There's a clock gene and a period gene in your brain, and that's these genes cause you to secrete certain chemicals, and when you get to a certain level, you get sleepy. When you get to a certain level, you wake up. And what happens is some people, instead of having a 24-hour clock, they have a 25-hour clock, basically. It may be 24 hours and 46 minutes or something.
Yeah, right.
And what happens is they keep delaying when they get sleepy. And so little by little, they stay up later and later until they're really out of sync with the rest of society. And it's really hard to reverse this. Often we have to have the patient stay up a couple hours later every 3 days until they're finally falling asleep at a normal time. It's called a delayed sleep phase syndrome.
I said, the problem is when you sleep all day and you're up all night, there's no vitamin D. I know a lot of people in the Midwest of this country, a lot of the northern latitudes across the nation, don't get enough vitamin D. They have this D deficiency. They're not exposed to
sunlight during the day. In fact, there was even a study that showed that the high rate of prostate cancer in blacks is associated with not enough sunlight during the day because they need more sunlight to develop the vitamin D because of the melanin in their skin.
Wow, that's fascinating. I did not know that. To me, sleep is one of those gifts from God. We take it for granted until you can't get it, until you can't get enough of it. And lack of sleep can be a torture. And I know there are millions of Americans that struggle with this. I was, when I began the program, mentioning obstructive sleep apnea. It's a condition where, of course, breathing stops repeatedly during the night. Your airways get blocked. And I know people now have like these inserts, or they'll use their CPAP machines, or they try other methods. But the byproduct of not getting that sleep or dealing with sleep apnea is, health issues like heart failure and diabetes and stroke and weight gain and a whole bunch of other stuff. Doctor, tell me about what the FDA is doing. I know they approved medication to treat sleep apnea in obese adults. People are losing weight, and apparently, I don't know whether this is working or not. I think the drug is called Zepbound for anyone who's having trouble with sleep apnea right now. Fill us in.
Tirzepatide. It's a GLP-1 agonist, and so it causes you to get rid of the extra sugar, and you make less fat, and you start to you lose weight on it. And a lot of people are using it for weight loss. Recently, they did a study to see whether or not using it for weight loss would improve the apnea. And then they just got the approval to use it in patients that are obese with apnea. We just had a meeting in our office with some of the sleep specialists to discuss whether or not we would prescribe it, or would it be wiser that the primary care physicians prescribe it. Because people are already starting to call in and say, we want to be put on the medication to lose weight. And since, as a sleep specialist, I don't really treat diabetes or treat weight loss.
So the drug's made by Eli Lilly. It was already being used for weight loss, right? But I think they found that it helps those suffering with moderate or severe sleep apnea. Is that how the
when your BMI drops significantly, the airway opens up. And you never know when it's going to happen. You can't base it on somebody's BMI. I had a patient that was 650 pounds that got down to 450 and lost their apnea.
Wow.
If you went up to 450, you'd suffocate.
Oh, my gosh, yeah.
So you don't know what's going to do it, but at a certain point, some people's weight will get low enough that the airway gets wide enough that the apnea goes away.
I know the U.S. is an obese country. And it was 1 in 3 Americans are overweight, or I don't know what the actual stat is at this point. I haven't looked in a while. But I can't tell you how many people I know that use these CPAP machines now. And, of course, the way that works, it forces air through a mask, keeps your airway open, and it's probably effective. A lot of people are on them. I don't have to use it, and I don't know what it's like. I think it would be hard to sleep with something like that, but people who have trouble with it, I guess they turn to surgery. Some people don't want something that's evasive.
Right. There's
invasive
oral appliances too. There's the Inspire implant. There's all different things. But weight loss is really, really crucial. That's a big issue. We get rid of the obesity, we'll get rid of a good portion of the apnea patients.
So are we seeing more people needing CPAP machines, surgery, these type of drugs because of obesity?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I've never seen so many people need it. I mean, it's wild. Jacqueline is in Fair Oaks, California. That's the Sacramento area. Hi, Jacqueline.
Hello. How are you today?
Well, thank you. Go right ahead. You're on the air with Dr. Tartaglia.
Okay, doctor. I've had concern about this for many years. My spouse was a military pilot, and for over 30 years. And in the early years, when we had our children, through the Vietnam War and different things, he used to come in from flights, and it was sporadic. Sometimes it would be that he was gone weeks. Sometimes he was gone months. And when he would come home, it was always during the night, anytime after 1 a.m. And so both of my children were awakened by the fact that they wanted to see the father that they hadn't seen in a long time. And so they adopted this routine of sleeping when their father slept, which was, of course, during the daytime. And then they were awake at night. And we all were awake at night, actually, at that time. So my spouse is now deceased at a young age, unfortunately. My younger son passed away at a young age from a brain tumor. But anyhow, my older son still survives. But he still has difficulty with his sleep patterns. It's just
right. And often a disrupted sleep pattern in youth carries on all the way through adulthood. We see that a lot.
And, I do have a CPAP machine for myself because, it affected me also. So that, I had difficulties with sleep deprivation, to be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah.
Sure.
All right. Thank you very much, Jacqueline. I'm going to let the doctor respond. Go right ahead, Doc.
Yeah, so it's good that she's wearing her CPAP. It's more important that you keep to the same time, same bedtime, same wake time on a regular basis and not fluctuate it on the weekends. That's probably more important than the actual time you go to bed. It is important, though, to get exposed to sunlight between 8 and 10 in the morning because that takes care of the resetting the circadian rhythm. It helps it function closer to what nature wants.
All right. Tracy is in South Carolina, in Myrtle Beach area. Hi, Tracy.
Hi, Drew. I have a question regarding my husband's napping or sleeping. He can sit down at any time. It could be noontime, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 5 o'clock, 7 p.m., and just within a couple of minutes fall asleep. It's usually, in front of the TV. It could be working on a crossword. It could be reading a book. But if I go in and I wake him up and walk out of the room, he immediately falls back asleep. Mm-hmm. So he's had the doctor run some blood work, and they did, blood panel and check testosterone, et cetera. And they said there's nothing wrong, but he snores at night and he's sleeping constantly during the day. He's retired. My question is it wise to get a second opinion, or do you have any clues to this?
He should go to a sleep specialist and get a sleep study done, because it's highly likely if he's snoring and sleepy during the day that he has sleep apnea. And it should be treated because the sleep apnea causes a drop in oxygen. The drop in oxygen causes hardening of the arteries. That leads to heart attack and stroke. Wow. And you want to prevent that.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Tracy, thanks.
You're welcome.
Doctor, thank you. Your book, why don't you give the title if people want to read your self-help book?
Last Gift of the Magi and Return of the Cloth. It's a series.
Last Gift of the Magi and Return of the Cloth. Available online. You can also check Dr. Tartaglia at tartaglia.com. That's Tartaglia. Good Italian name. I'm out of time for the day. I want to thank you for allowing me to be part of your afternoon until our passing again cross tomorrow, and I look forward to that. I'll say a prayer for you. In fact, I'm going to do it right now. I'm going to go to the chapel. Please pray for me too, okay? We'll talk soon. Have a great day.
Like what you just heard? Then share it with your family and friends. And thanks for listening.